Kilauea, the legendary volcano that has shaped the very bones of the Big Island, has begun to mutter a warning through ever-increasing seismic whispers, swelling land, and bursts of molten fire that seem to defy the calm the summit once wore like a mask. Scientists are now sounding the alarm with growing urgency. Lava fountains soaring nearly 1,200 feet into the air are not merely possible. They are becoming increasingly probable, and each passing hour reveals new signs that the volcano is priming itself for an eruption, spectacular in scale and profoundly hazardous in impact. What makes this moment so unnerving is not just the scientific indicators, but the eerie rhythm of it all. The way the seismic tremor hums with an almost heartbeat-like consistency, and the way the crater floor responds with a subtle rise, as though the mountain is inhaling, gathering strength for an exhale that will explode into the sky. At Halemaʻumaʻu, the iconic crater that has served as Kilauea's fiery chamber for ages, instruments maintained by the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory register these fluctuations with unsettling clarity. They've watched lava fountains roar upward, not in short-lived spurts, but in relentless hours-long blasts that paint the night sky in searing red and coat the surrounding landscape in arcs of glowing tephra. It is not a gentle show. It is a display of force, pressure, motion, and Earth's raw personality. Unpredictable, volatile, and absolutely commanding. The monitors reflect what human senses cannot fully grasp. The ground is swelling, the pressure is rising, and the tremor patterns are intensifying in a way that suggests something big is building beneath. Kilauea isn't simply active, it is preparing, aligning its internal forces in ways that scientists recognize from past periods of violent, high-fountaining activity. Since December 2024, the volcano has been in an episodic state, marked by bursts of activity separated by quiet intervals that feel less like relief and more like the eye of a storm. In volcanology, quiet doesn't mean calm, it means potential, and the potential here is enormous. Lava fountains reaching 1,200 feet, nearly the height of a 100-story skyscraper, are unlike the slow-moving flows that many people envision when they think of Hawaiian eruptions. These fountains are violent upward blasts, driven by gases trapped within the magma, which burst free with such intensity that molten rock is hurled skyward in glowing streaks, only to fall back to the crater in terrifying showers of blazing debris. The height alone means these fountains carry extraordinary energy, and their effects extend far beyond the summit itself. Showers of hot rock, fragments of volcanic glass known as Pele's hair, ash plumes, sulfur dioxide gases, and shifting flows become hazards capable of affecting not just those within park boundaries, but anyone downwind or near the rift zones. Even though this heightened activity currently seems confined within Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, the dangers do not stop at the rim of the crater. Winds can carry ash miles away. Volcanic gases can drift into communities, stinging eyes, burning throats, and aggravating respiratory conditions. And tephra can fall in areas people might mistakenly believe are safe. In the realm of volcanoes, spectacular is rarely synonymous with safe, and Kilauea has proven this countless times in its long, fiery history. Imagine being on the island right now, whether as a resident who has lived with the volcano's moods for years or a visitor who arrived expecting serene landscapes and gentle Hawaiian breath. Perhaps you've been watching the summit webcams at night, noticing the intensified glow that pulses like a heartbeat against the darkness. You may feel a subtle vibration beneath your feet when the tremor rises, not enough to be called an earthquake, but enough to remind you that you are standing on living ground. Then, without warning, the alert goes out. Episode 28 has begun. Lava fountains were observed nearing 1,200 feet. Ashfall possible downwind. Avoid summit areas. The adrenaline spikes. You look toward the summit, and even from miles away, the red smear on the horizon feels closer than ever. Visitors become spellbound, drawn to the spectacle with cameras raised, while locals adopt a more cautious stance, scanning wind directions, checking VOG forecasts, and listening for the helicopter patrols that often serve as a prelude to official warnings. The park rangers know better than anyone how quickly conditions can change, and they stand ready to close trails, evacuate high-exposure zones, and direct people away from unstable terrain. The eruption isn't just beautiful, it's dangerous, and those dangers can evolve in minutes. The sky above the crater becomes a canvas of contrasting forces. Thick plumes of steam, bursts of incandescent lava against the night, and ash drifting like fine snow that glitters deceptively in the moonlight. If you're within a few miles, you might taste the bitterness of sulfur in the air, feel the heaviness of volcanic particulates settling on your skin, or see a faint haze drifting across the sky. Your senses sharpen, animal-like, tuned to every shift in the wind, every distant rumble, every flicker on the horizon, because instinct whispers what science confirms: the volcano is wide awake. This awakening is part of a larger story. Kilauea sits atop the Pacific Plate, fed by a massive plume of magma rising from deep within the Earth, and its network of summit chambers and rift zones forms one of the most dynamic volcanic systems on the planet. While it often produces slow-moving flows that allow time for evacuation and observation, its history is filled with episodes of rapid change that defied expectations. The high-fountaining episodes now unfolding bear eerie similarities to past events, including the Pu'u'u eruption that began in the 80s and continued for decades, altering landscapes, destroying communities, and reshaping Hawaii's geography. This is why scientists are uneasy. These towering fountains are not isolated acts of volcanic theater. They are signals of a larger shift in the internal balance of pressure, gas, and magma migration. A cone could collapse, redirecting flows in unexpected ways. A new vent could open along a rift zone, bypassing the summit entirely. The ground could fracture, releasing magma into fresh pathways that threaten previously stable terrain. The infrastructure around the summit, the viewing platforms, the trails, and the roads could all be compromised in a single shift. For those living or traveling near Kilauea, preparation is not optional, it is essential. Staying informed through official channels is the first line of defense. Summit rim zones, even those designated safe, can become hazardous without warning, especially when lava fountains reach hundreds of feet into the air. Ash and volcanic glass can travel far, carried silently on winds that shift unpredictably. Gas emissions can fluctuate rapidly, exposing downwind communities to dangerous levels of sulfur dioxide. Having an evacuation mindset, knowing where to drive, where to shelter, and which areas to avoid is critical, because volcanoes do not operate on human schedules. They move according to their own internal tempo. And this volcano, right now, is accelerating. Visitors drawn by the spectacle must understand that beauty here demands respect. Trails near the crater rim can destabilize when seismic activity rises. Nighttime viewing enhances the glow but reduces visibility, increasing the risk of missteps and exposure. Families, photographers, and adventurers alike must treat the environment not as a park, but as a living geological engine capable of changing its behavior in minutes. At the heart of it all is a simple truth. Kilauea is not merely a landmark, it is a force. It communicates through pressure, through tremors, through fountains of fire, through the swelling of land and the shifting of gas plumes. Its current behavior signals a phase of heightened energy, and the spectacle of a possible 1,200-foot lava fountain is not just impressive. It's a manifestation of immense geological power, a reminder that human activity is dwarfed by the cycles of the Earth. So the question becomes, what happens next? Will the volcano release its pressure in a series of controlled bursts, maintaining activity within the summit crater? Or will a structural change, a collapse, a vent shift, or a sudden surge of magma propel this episode into a more dramatic and hazardous phase? Will the gases intensify, pushing VOG into populated areas? Will ashfall extend miles beyond the summit? Will a new fissure open along the rift zone? For now, the volcano waits, its energy coiling, its rhythms deepening. The ground seems to breathe, expanding upward, preparing for another cycle of fire. And even though the fountains have paused, the tremors continue, the pressure mounts, and the magma pulses beneath the surface like a heartbeat accelerating before a storm. Kilauea has always been alive. But right now, it feels awake in a way that commands attention. Beyond the immediate spectacle, scientists are also watching for subtle signs that often precede major volcanic events. Signals invisible to casual observers but critical in understanding the mountain's intentions. Gas compositions are shifting. Sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide ratios fluctuate with each surge of magma. Ground deformation is no longer gradual. In some areas, the land rises and falls almost rhythmically, like waves in a slow, fiery ocean. Seismologists measure these tiny tremors with instruments that detect vibrations so slight, a human would never feel them. Yet these microquakes can indicate magma moving through underground conduits, searching for weaknesses in the surrounding rock. The very structure of the volcano is in conversation with itself, balancing the push of molten rock with the resistance of solid crust, and every movement adds to the tension, like a giant spring coiling beneath the earth. Residents in nearby communities are being advised to maintain emergency kits, ensure evacuation routes are accessible, and keep an eye on official alerts because the unpredictability of Kilauea means conditions can escalate faster than any human plan can adapt. Even the seasoned locals who have witnessed decades of eruptions acknowledge the heightened energy now as something that doesn't fit neatly into prior patterns. This is not routine. It is potentially historic. Drone and satellite imagery reveal more than just glowing lava. They capture heat anomalies spreading across rift zones, faint fractures that widen imperceptibly, and thermal pulses that betray the movement of magma toward the surface. These images are studied by volcanologists not only to understand what is happening now, but to anticipate the next phases, fountains, flows, ash clouds, or fissure openings that could alter landscapes in minutes. And when it speaks again, when it forces its molten breath skyward in towering jets of fire, will we be ready? If you get the chance to watch from a safe distance, you may witness one of the most dramatic natural shows on Earth. Just do it with your senses tuned, your feet grounded, and your head clear. Thanks for staying with me through this update. I'll keep monitoring the alerts, and if we get word of a major event or change, you'll hear about it. Until then, keep your eyes open, take care of your safety, and remember, this kind of power is incredible, but